Hey guys, it's the Disco Spider, and I've stated in previous videos before, the 2000s was a rough decade for cartoons. It may have started off great, but in 2005 is when we started seeing more and more awful cartoons. And of them, one specific cartoon came out on Kids WB following a block of other shit shows, and never left until recently was none other than Johnny Test. Now, Johnny Test is very popular in the world of animation, but not for good reasons, but for being one of the worst cartoons of the 2000s, or to some people, of all time. And coming from the same guy who created Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide, is Johnny Test as bad as the Legends 4 tool, or is this little show just misunderstood? The show is about a boy and his talking dog who find themselves in strange predicaments while messing with gadgets found in his sister's lab. I can easily sum up the whole show in just one word: lazy. Every aspect of the show, except for one, is lazy. The plots are lazy, the characters are lazy, the animation is lazy, nothing in the show is original or fresh. First, let's start off with the plot. Every single plot you can find from the show has been done before in some way. They are easily predictable, and the worst part is that there's nothing that they add to help make the unoriginal plot fun or fresh. The best example of a show doing so is The Loud House. Almost every single plot in that show has been done before and is very predictable, but what makes these plots work and really fun and enjoyable are the amazing characters. These plots are as simple and plain as you can get, and I would be okay with this if the show had a lot of funny jokes, but any humor that the show tries to do is just pointing out the situation in a fourth wall sort of way, which can get a little too tedious at times. Nothing in the show is funny, and adding with the boring plots just makes the show, well, boring. And also, this whole series has been done before. Dexter's Laboratory and Jimmy Neutron. It feels like just carbon copies of those shows, especially Dexter's Laboratory. I know a lot of people have stated this, but it's pretty much Dexter's Laboratory in reverse. But what made those shows good was the originality they had when coming up with the plot. Since it's about science and gadgets, they had a lot of fun making up gadgets that fit in with relatable themes and interesting approaches with the certain plot, with the aspect of inventions. But this show just sucks out any sort of fun it could have had to make this really bland and boring invention-centric show. Then we have the characters. All the characters are really uninteresting. Dookie and the twins play as the voice of reasons. Mr. Black and White, who are honestly the only tolerable characters in this show, are the typical dumb people who are left in charge, like the cops from The Simpsons and Gravity Falls. And all the villains just play as these really lame villains. The villains are the exact same. If it weren't for what they looked like, you can practically swap all these characters in these episodes and it wouldn't make a difference. They all have the same stupid motive of taking over the world, then they get defeated by Johnny and suddenly all they want to do is destroy him. These characters are just very lazy, and it feels like there was no effort put into making these villains. And the worst part is that they all acted the same. They're just the silly ones who want to be taken seriously, but all their plans are really flawed and easy to stop. Something like Mojo Jojo from the Powerpuff Girls. It seems like a ton of shows with villains don't really know how to make good villains. That's why I love shows like the Powerpuff Girls or Batman the Animated Series, because it had fun making different and unique villains with different ranges. I know I said this before, but make different types of villains that are either goofy, super serious but easy to defeat, silly but hard to defeat, ones that aren't taken seriously, or one that's very powerful, or what have you, the list goes on. These villains, and the characters in general, are just very bland and very lazy. Then we have the man of the hour himself, Johnny Test. Johnny Test is a boring lead. There is nothing about him that is interesting. He's just your typical brat. He's like if Dee Dee was a star of her own show, or if Timmy Turner didn't have any reason for complaining about his life. Johnny Test may not be the absolute worst character, but he can get under my skin at times. Then we have the animation, which is tolerable at best. Nothing good, but nothing too bad. I've seen a lot worse. It's just something that you'd come to expect from a cheap Flash Canadian show. Then we have the one aspect of the show that wasn't lazy, which was the sound effects. The sound effects may not sound like a big deal, but trust me, they are. There is not at least 1 second where it's just talking. There always has to be some sort of musical effect or a sound effect, and it gets so degrading and under my skin. I dare you to find me an episode where they have at least 10 seconds of nothing but silence or someone talking. You can't, because there's not. And the worst part about this is that they repeat the same few ones each episode. Everyone knows the infamous whip crack sound, but there are about like 5 musical sounds that are in every single episode. And after watching a ton of episodes for this review, it just got way too annoying. But then we come to the absolute worst part about the show, which is that Johnny Test lasted for 9 years. Yes, 9 fucking years of this show. If this was your typical 2 to 4 season run with 52 episodes, I'd be fine with this show. I still would hate it, but I would be less hard on it. But Cartoon Network decided that this show was good enough to run new episodes for 9 years. It still baffles me that this show that isn't popular or liked stayed a lot longer than way better shows out there. Like, this show got more than 100 episodes. Let that sink in. Cartoon Network produced more episodes of this than shows like Teen Titans, Kids Next Door, Ed, Edd n Eddy, and practically any other Cartoon Network show besides Adventure Time or regular show. It just goes to show you that you don't have to be original or clever or fun to be a long-running series. So, in the end, Johnny Test is a very unoriginal, lazy, unfun, and uncreative show. It takes aspects from other shows and just sucks any cleverness it has to have this watered-down, bland version of Dexter's Laboratory. Johnny Test may not be the worst cartoon ever, or close to being it, since there are way worse Canadian cartoons out there. The show is still terrible and not deserving of the long run it had. There is not an aspect of the show that I could really say is good. Not a single thing. The only not bad thing I can say is that the theme song isn't so bad, but that's only because it's a ripoff of American Idiot. This is a must-avoid show. Please, everyone, do not watch this show. Even if you are a kid, there are much better shows like this. I'd even recommend Jimmy Neutron than this, or the later seasons of Dexter's Laboratory. But what are your thoughts on Johnny Test? Leave in the comments below, especially if you are a fan. I'd like to see if there are actually fans of this show. And please leave a like if you like this video, and do subscribe for more cartoon-related reviews. But anyways, I'm the Disco Spider, and